Exodus, the journey from bondage to liberation of the Hebrew people. The story of Exodus begins when Joseph's brothers sell him into slavery, but he ends up becoming the Egyptian Pharaoh's right-hand man. For hundreds of years afterwards, Joseph's descendants were blessed by the hospitality of that nation. But everything changed when a Pharaoh who did not know Joseph took charge. Once welcomed under the new Pharaoh, Joseph's people were cast into bondage. Once honored guests, now they were slaves. God's people were seen as threats and a danger. They find themselves living beneath their call to be a blessing to the nations, and they are frightened and forced to make bricks without straw. Into this muddled mess steps Moses, the scion of Israel. Raised in Pharaoh's house, still he steps in to aid his people and ultimately demands that this Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, let God's people go. This is a cry for freedom, a call for the Hebrews to shake off their bondage and to rise into their rightful status as the liberated people of God. Israel's route to liberation is through the Exodus. And the similarities I see between the Exodus of the Israelites and the journey of the United Methodist Church is in the places you are likely to visit along your path toward liberation. Numbers 33 names the cities through which Moses and the people of God pass as they make their way to a new and promised land. And no, I have not lost my mind. I'm serious. A study of the names of those cities is deeply instructive to any person, conference, or capital C church willing to consider a journey toward liberation. In Numbers 33, places like Dopka, which means beaten up and knocked down, are on the path. Moses and those who followed him were beaten up by the inhabitants of the land they sought to occupy. They were knocked down by their own arrogance. They were knocked down by opposition, knocked down by their own sin, knocked down and beaten up by those powers that seek to divide the people of God. Moreover, like Moses and the people of the Exodus, we will find ourselves passing through Ben Jakim. The name of this city means sons twisted out of shape. On your way to liberation from bondage of dissension, from the bondage of pain, from the bondage of division, you will find yourself facing siblings and soulmates, fellow Wesleyans and pewmates, whom you know and love. And yet, the words leaving their lips and the anger clouding their eyes makes them seem as strangers, twisted out of shape. Along this path from Egypt to liberation, from one annual conference meeting to the next, you and I will set up tents for a time in a place called Harada. The meaning of Harada is an anxious, fearful time. A time when we do not know whom to trust, how to trust, or even if we can trust ourselves. A tough place to be. And like those who sought the Exodus path before us, we will be waylaid in a place called Oboth, a place of mumbling voices. And we will sense that our path has taken us right into the heart of Rissa. That means a ruined place. These are just some of the places Moses' account in Numbers 33 tells us the people of God traversed on their way from Egypt's oppression to God's liberation. But thanks be to God, these are not the only places on their Exodus sojourn or on ours. The people who are being transformed by their journey into the people of God also found a night's rest in Rephidim, which is understood as a place of refreshing, where their souls were refreshed. They sought refuge in Hashmona and found it to be a fertile place where new ideas emerged and new relationships took root. The ones who followed Moses' lead stopped for a time in Mekheloth, which means righteous assembly, and there their God would make of them a righteous assembly. Moreover, through this journey, though it was long and hard, the people of God passed through Mithka. That means sweetness. And there they experienced the sweetness of God in their midst. There are many other names and many other places along the Exodus journey, each with a lesson to teach both the ancient Hebrews and we who claim them as our ancestors. We must not avoid the journey. It is the process by which we will be tested and transformed. We must not evade the problematic places. We must pass through them to get to the point of liberation. We must not ignore what this journey has to teach, because each lesson is part of our transition from bondage to liberation, part of becoming the people God calls us to be. And who are we called to be? I'm so glad you asked. We are called to be the ones who have a story to tell, a story of the journey from brokenness to healing to wholeness. We are the ones who now have some knowledge of the route between bondage and liberation. We are now the ones who can guide others along the path. We are the ones, as the writer of Ephesians says, who can tell the story of once being far off and far away from one another, far off from common ground, far away from the ability to hear one another's hearts. But now in Christ, we have the opportunity to be brought near again, to tear down walls that divide, and to build a church that proclaims peace to those who are far off and far away, and even peace to those who remained near. It's a peace that finds its meaning in the Hebrew word shalom, which is so much more than the absence of chaos. We are being transformed by our journey toward liberation into a church that proclaims the deepest meaning of shalom, that there is enough for all, that there is safety and health and favor and rest and wholeness, and it is available for all. This is the shalom liberation will bring. This is the place toward which we travel. My friends, we are not the first ones to find ourselves bound up and held captive by forces arrayed against us. We are not the first ones to face a journey with fear in our bellies and maybe not enough hope in our hearts. We are not the first one to visit places or conversations that knocked us down, beat us up, left us feeling ruined, or with the sound of mumbling voices in our throats. We are not the first, and we will not be the last. But we can take heart, because the journey toward liberation was never touted as one without challenge. This journey was sure to be arduous and continual. In fact, the path toward liberation is one we will walk all the days of our earthly life. However, with each step of faith, we will come just a bit closer to what God has in mind for all of creation. And that is the freedom, the liberation, the glory of the fullness of life in Christ. We cannot give up the journey toward liberation. We cannot give up on one another or on our communities of faith. We just cannot, even when, especially when we encounter obstacles on our journey, detours along the way, or dead ends that try our souls. We must continue on. After all, the entirety of the biblical writ is about a journey from the perfection of Eden through the deception of the garden to the perfection of the New Jerusalem. We cannot skip the post-garden part. We cannot give up on our journey toward liberation. Each living soul is on a journey through difficult places. That includes you and me, our local households of faith, and the people of God. But I am so glad to report that we are not alone. The one who walks with us, who meets us with refreshness and sweetness along the way, who sees us as a righteous assembly in the making, has promised out of his great love for us to make us alive and to enable us to continue on. This one, this Jesus, on whom we must focus as our leader on this journey, promises to call us from near and far and to build us into a people filled with his Spirit. And because of this, we have access to all we need to make this journey from brokenness to healing to wholeness, from bondage to freedom. Do not give up. Do not let the rough places cause you to turn around. Instead, read to the end of Numbers 33. Hear the story of our ancestors who arrived at Mount Nebo, which, loosely translated, means the other side. Trust that God can bring us along this journey to the other side. And when we get there, remember the lessons learned. Remember them and place them where you can access them readily. Why? Because the truth is, we will always be on a journey toward liberation. We will always face challenges ready to enslave us to something less than God's desire for us. Remember how you walk this path so you'll be able to teach others how to continue on, knowing there is a Mount Nebo, knowing there is another side. As I come to my final sentences, I hear in my heart the hymn of one of your own Methodist brothers, Charles Albert Tindley. In the late 1800s, while preparing to become a Methodist minister, he wrote the hymn, "The Storm is Passing Over." His words echo in my soul as a journey song for pilgrims on this Exodus road. May you sing this song knowing that the same Jesus who encouraged Tindley in the face of great odds, the same Jesus who calmed the wind and sea, this very same one is standing near you, ready to accompany you past this moment through all of the cities along your Exodus journey toward the place of liberating joy. May you sing this song, and may you know its truth in your soul. Courage, my soul, and let us journey on. Though the night is dark, it won't be very long. Thanks be to God, the morning light appears. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. Hallelujah. Let us begin together.